one of our one panner. Oh, I love you. Cook along. And I wanted to show you guys exactly, let's see if that's working better. If you can see me, guys, say hi. Let me know that you can see me. Okay. This one is just being a bit tricky and not starting. Can you please sort this out? This one's not starting. All right, perfect. First things first is I want to do, if you can push the X and then just try and go live again, is let's make the carrot cake porridge. Now, I want to actually cook mine now, and if you do too, let's, yep, just discard it and start again. Sorry, guys. All right, if you want to get going on cooking yours right now for brekkie as well, let's get the oven on. So it says on to 180, so whack that on now. 180 on. So then at least that is preheating. Let me just fix. Can you please fix this? Sorry, it's completely down. Okay, so first things first with making the porridge is you want to get a container. Now we're making two things here today. We're making our gorgeous sticky sausage bake, but we're also making this one. So you've got two choices here. Is you, it's just going to run out of power though. It's got no, okay. Is you can use two different pans. So I like to use a glass or an enamel one for cooking the porridge. But you could put this into a different container. Maybe you want to cook it in this, and the sausages you want to put into a plastic container to cook later. Whatever works for you, you can absolutely do. But for me, I'm going to use this guy. I use this so much in my one panners, and especially in the one pan course that I've got. I love using this because it has the lid. Okay, so that's what we're going to do this porridge in. Let's get going on the liquids. Usually you would see that we'd need 2 or 3 different containers. Not in one pan land. We can get everything going in here. So we need 2 cups of milk. Oh, I'm gonna have to grab my other milk. That's 1. You can absolutely use any milk here. You can use plant milk, oat milk, any rice milk. You do what works for you. I have a lot of people that join my cook-alongs and my courses that have different intolerances, and you'll see down the bottom of the recipe on the left that it says do this, do that if you're cooking with an intolerance. So just follow those instructions because it'll always work. Okay, we've got our 2 cups of milk, and the next thing we need is our 2 cups of eggs. I like to get this one going with all of the liquid ingredients first. I find that if I whisk these up, it just comes together that little bit easier. So we've got our 2 eggs, our 2 cups of milk, and then a little bit of maple syrup and a little bit of cinnamon. So it's a tablespoon of maple syrup. I've done a tablespoon of maple syrup enough to be able to just pour it. Give me a thumbs up, guys, if you're cooking along with me. I can see there's so many of you there on Facebook. That's so cool. Hello, hello. And then, what else have we got? Oh yeah, the little bits of either butter, macadamia or avocado oil. This is one of our fats, and you'll notice that I said macadamia or avocado oil. Why? Because these ones won't go rancid. They're a really, really stable, real fat, so they won't cause inflammation. And I love using macadamia or avocado oil. That was 2 tablespoons, by the way, because I can free pour it. If it was butter, I would need to go ahead and melt it. And I just find that this is just a different spot. Like, it's so much quicker that I can just get that in to my pan and get going with it. I love to having variety in my diet. So we absolutely eat butter, but if I can whack in some avocado oil or some macadamia oil, then that's a win, right? Okay, so I've got all of our liquid ingredients done here for that. And the next thing that we want to do is get going on our carrots. So it calls for about a cup of carrots, which I find is one-ish big carrot. My carrot isn't humongous. I'm just going to cut the ends off it. I'm not going to peel it, but I might. This guy looks pretty sad. I am at markets day today, so, but if yours looks not as hairy and as yuck as mine, then mine don't usually look that sad, I wouldn't peel it. Okay, and then we're just gonna grate it. Now, if Thermomixes are your thing, you could 100%, the way that I would do this recipe is I would do your carrot first, so go ahead and chop that on up. And then I'd add in all of those liquid ingredients and just stir it. And then you'd be good to go. You'd be able to add in your oats. You might even want to add all of like the oat mixture in as well. And then you can just pour it into your container. I make this up 90% of the time the night before. That's the cool thing, that when you start getting organized and you've got these recipes to follow, you start going, yes, you know what? I feel energized. I'm going to go ahead and make that up at dinner. Or maybe you've put on your one pan dinner in the oven and you start cleaning up and you're like, you know what? I reckon I could cook something else. I'll get this carrot bake done. I love this one too because it lasts really well. It freezes great. You could freeze it in literally that container with the Pyrex on top, or you might choose to pull it out and wrap it. You can do that 100%. I love doing that with it. I know too that when it hardens up, it goes nearly cake-like, which is why I loved and always do that extra effort of putting the gorgeous nuts and seeds on top, because it kind of feels like it's a cake top, right? It's awesome. Okay, in with our carrots. Feel free to measure them out. If there's any extras, you can whack them into the sausage bake that we're about to make. But for me, I know that's roughly a cup because I've probably made this 80 times. And our next 2-cup thing that we need is 2 cups of whole oats. You'll see that I say in the recipe whole oats and not quick oats. Quick oats have just had that little bit more processing done, and that's okay if that's your journey. But for me, I really want there to be as little processing as possible. And I like that in this recipe because then they take a little bit longer to cook. And that's what I want. Like if I was to use quick oats in this, it would be cooked too quick, and especially when I like to make it up overnight, it had just turned to mush. Okay. Rightio. In we go with our mixture there. Okay. Just like that. Oh, so good. How good is that starting to look? Give me some love if you're pretty stoked on how that's looking too. All right, the next thing that we do is we want to get going on our topping for it. Now, that one might be a bit too small. I'm just going to grab my bigger guy because I don't want it to go everywhere. So here we go. In this container, we're going to do our nuts and our seeds. So this is one where you can choose what works for you. We love pecans in our family. I'm just going to make a bit of space. Just excuse me a sec, guys. I'm sure you're a bit the same. I feel like I've got a Long Island bench, but I don't always have every bit of space. Okay, I'm going to move this one. This is all the stuff for the next recipe we're making, and just bring this in. I like to chop my nuts and seeds a little bit. Again, if you were using your Thermomix, I'd probably make this part first before you did the carrots, because any leftover would be fine in your bake as well. But for me, I have a Thermomix and I like it, but I also quite like doing this stuff too. I find it really calming, and it's nice to sort of have that connection with food. So I'm going for 2 cups of nuts and seeds. So what I've got in here is some pecans initially. Keep in mind, if you have a nut allergy, sweets, don't put nuts, just put seeds. I'm just going to grab, a few more flax, sesame. Here we go. These are some great ones that I want to show you guys. These are some white chia, some sesame seeds. These are some flax, some sunflower seeds. I'll also grab, I've got a measuring cup, by the way, on the side of this. It's going to get to my 2 cups. So don't think that I'm just being crazy and just chucking everything in. I'm also going to grab some peppers. That's when you'll get, and I noticed there was a gorgeous photo of one of the gals saying, "Hey Stace, I've made this." She was making this and it went a gorgeous colour green. That's just your pepitas. They'll do that. And I just remembered, sorry, that I've got some walnuts, which would be so good with the carrot. It'll be a little bit more carrot cake-ish. So let's get those in. This is stuff too that, say this becomes a family favourite, that you could make up in another glass jar, this sprinkle top, right? Just go ahead one day and have the kids make up, say, to 8 cups or whatever that is, and then you can split it in 4, because you need 2 cups each. And that'd be perfect. You'd be ready to go with these kind of things. So don't fear when you start going, oh gosh, it's cooking from scratch, like, is this going to take so long? It doesn't. Once you find that there's a favourite, you can find ways to cook around it and make it quicker. Check that out, guys. So we've got all of our nuts and seeds in there. Now we want to add some flavour, and we want these to crisp up and go delicious. So that's why you need to put your butter / your oil, as well as a little bit of spices on here as well. So let me just go. I've got a teaspoon of cinnamon. I really love like a lot of flavour on these ones. So you'll notice in a lot of my recipes that I definitely go heavy-handed on them. All right, and I love adding in, it's only if you want to, but I definitely do, is I want to add in the cloves and the nutmeg. I'm going for this to taste like it is carrot cake. I'm legit more carrot cake for breakfast. So that's why I've got these. We've got 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. You could sub this for honey. You could also substitute it for granulated sugar as well. And then we want our 2 tablespoons of macadamia oil. I'd say that's 2 there. Keep in mind, you can do that with butter, you could do it with coconut oil, you could do it with avocado oil. Maybe you've got a really low fragrant olive oil as well. That could be quite beautiful actually, because it works quite well with the cake. But look at that now. It looks like we've got nearly like a muesli before it goes in the oven, and that's what you're looking for. You want this to be gorgeous and crunchy. And now we'll get going on getting in our porridge. I could just see that there was the egg in one corner. So I'm just giving it a little bit of a move around there. Look at that. You could add into here, I didn't in this recipe, but in tomorrow's pancake one we've got it. is you could put in sultanas as well, or like chopped up dates. That would work really, really good in this recipe. My kids just preferred it without it, but if that's something that is such a fan in your house, I would put that in the carrot and oat mixture. And as I'm putting this in there, can you see I'm kind of just going over the top? I'm not being precious that it can be pushed in a little bit to it. It will still crisp up. Oh my goodness. Look at that. You've got to snap a photo of it before yours goes in the oven. Please do. I'm going to do a little smile with this guy. Let's hope that Facebook picks that up and Instagram as the as a hero image there. Okay, so that one is done. If you wanted to be putting this in the fridge to cook tomorrow, you just do that. You put it in the fridge, your job's done. You pull it out, you put it in, and you get on with your morning. But for me, I'm now gonna cook this because we've got a perfect Saturday brekkie. So it's gonna go in for 40 minutes. I've already preheated the oven because we did that as soon as we started. Make sure you turn on your timer. Job's done. All right, now let's clear off this stuff and make our gorgeous sausage bake. Oh my God, this recipe for the sausage bake is always my default if I see sausages on sale and I'm like, that's good, I need some of those. Or if I've got veggies that are turning, because in this recipe I've said to you, look, use 5 cups, is it? Let me just go back to it. Yeah, I do know that off by heart. Sometimes I doubt myself, but I've made it so many times. 5 cups of veg, but you can be using like whatever veg that you want, right? So let's get going on it. Grab your dish. Now I use a cast iron pan. I like it when it is a little bit higher. I find that works really, really great because it doesn't go everywhere. You could be making this in a circle dish, no issue. You could be making this on one of your oven trays. Like this isn't the perfect one, but say one that came with your oven that's got like a little bit more around the sides, that would work great too. All right, so we've got that guy. I'm gonna clean off my knife and we're gonna get going on putting the veg in. So I've called for 5 veggies. I've got 2 carrots, a zucchini, button mushrooms, sweet potatoes, and green beans. Now, what I want you to do, and I'm gonna start chopping these, and guys, feel free to start chopping yours too, is I want you to think about how long the different veggies, oh, where is this moving? Oh, I've got carrot peel underneath. That's good. How long the different veggies take to cook. So if you're gonna go in with a potato that's this in half and then tiny bits of zucchini, it's not gonna cook at the same rate. So the way that I sort of think it through is I go, okay, zucchini, it's above ground vegetable, which means it's gonna have a heck of a lot more water in it. So it's gonna take less time to cook. So see here my zucchinis, they're slightly bigger. And you'll notice it in my written recipes and definitely in my full course, I've got you with that stuff as well, is that I give you the sizes to cut different things rather than just cube it, because you're like, what's cube it? I know I sort of struggle with that stuff as well, because I want you to be able to get all of my recipes to always cook perfectly. I found a little bit of eggplant, literally these 2 bits in my fridge. So this is a wonderful recipe. And if you need to take 2 minutes and be like, oh my God, Stace, actually, I've got a little bit of cauliflower, or I've got half a head of broccoli, sweetheart, this is the recipe for you. I might bring it there. Can you guys see those okay? All right, let's get going on our carrots. Now, I'm not as worried in this recipe about my carrots being a little bit sad. However, they're gonna take longer to cook and crisp up and get delicious than my zucchini and my eggplant, right? So I'm going to cut these a little bit smaller. Get these ones in here. If this is looking like absolute too tedious for you and you're not in the market for chopping, you could absolutely put this into a blender, like a food processor, 100%. I just wouldn't over-pulverize it, but I know especially with cool food processors, you guys can get like the different attachments, and maybe everything in there gets julienned, and you just, you know, choose a different size for the carrots, like they're a little bit smaller, and the potatoes. So see here, these ones are a little, that's probably more showing of it. Look at the size difference of that, right? Like, it's pretty different there because I want this to get gorgeous and crispy, so I'm not going to cut these things too big. Especially when you're cooking this with sausages, like they cook quick. But you could absolutely change this recipe out, and I hope by this evening, this is a family favorite and you love it, is you could do this with like chicken legs, or with chicken thighs, with pork chops, like all of it works with this dressing. It's so yum. What you can do there is just, cutting my potatoes a bit too big. Silly Stace. Chop them down. Is that you just keep your veggies that little bit bigger. So just have a play around with that, right? Don't be freaked out by it. It's giving you the flexibility to be able to use a base recipe a bit differently. Okay, so the potatoes so far for me are the smallest things that I've cut. Oh my gosh, look at these gorgeous Dutch creams. They are gonna go so crispy and yum. Okay, and get them lovely and small. So the size of those guys, like they're really quite tiny. I'd say they're a centimetre in size. And then I want some sweet potato. My sweet potato is tiny, but I'd be adding here for about my 5 cups worth. I think I'd be pretty much there now. I cut my sweets really, really thin because I find they do take quite a while to crisp up. Now, let's check that exactly. So I've got my veggies here, but I want to show you guys. And you'll start being able to, after you've made this a few times, you'll start being able to eyeball it, right? And be like, yeah. Okay, I think I'm going to be bang on. This is 4 cups. Oh, that's 6 cups, but that's all right. More veg, right? Look at that. I love when you can look at these things and be like, oh, that's so much goodness in there. Brilliant. Okay, next thing is your snags. So I like to chop mine, and the reason that I like to chop mine, and it's because I've been making this recipe since the kids were little, is because if everything's the same size, they kind of just hoover it in. Do you guys find that as well? But by all means, you could cook the sausages on top. You could literally just do this, job done. But I like to chop mine, and I just find that the kids will, yeah, it's kind of like, okay, everything's the same size. All right, cool, in we go. You'll notice here I'm using a serrated knife. Whenever I'm cutting raw sausage, it just stops everything from breaking as much easier. Okay, let's get those in. I love chicken sausage in this. Why? Because I want variety. I don't always want to just be eating beef sausages. I could eat pork ones, but use so many different cuts of meat. Use chicken breast, use tenderloins, use legs, use thighs, use some pork cutlets. I haven't made it with beef strips, but I reckon there'd definitely be some yummy beef cuts that would work amazingly with this. It is totally up to you. I'm just making sure that these aren't there. You could do it with meatballs as well. So good. Okay, in with those, and now let's make up our dressing. The yummy, 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 yummy dressing. I love this one. Okay, let's grab a little container, and again, as you start getting used to this, get more comfortable with it, you could be putting it straight in. These call for tablespoons in this recipe. I think most of it, yeah. So you could actually put it straight in as you've made this a few times, but for me, I'm gonna make it up in this now because I want you guys to see, you know, exactly how it looks. Okay, so first one, 3 tablespoons of olive oil. What could we use instead of olive oil? The macadamia oil that we were just using in the carrot porridge, avocado oil, all of those would work great. I tend to do oil first because then when I'm gonna go and use other things, it comes off the spoon a lot easier. I'm gonna do, the next one is the garlic cloves. So I mince those. If you're a little bit like me and you get a little bit lazy, I'll show you guys what you can also use. Oh, I don't even know why I'm trying to do that. It's too fancy for Stace. I'm not at all that girl. I'm just gonna chop them. But you could use the dried garlic, and I'll show you those cloves that I buy and use so much. I buy them at the Source Bulk Foods, which is where I tend to get 90% of my dried kitchen pantry stuff. I love it. I'll show you the garlic ones. These little garlic granules, they're so good. And they can go in. Guys, if you can see me, say hi. I would love to know, are you making this with me? Let's add a few little ones in there. Okay, and now some apple cider vinegar. So we've got our garlic, our olive oil, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Perfect. Oh, that carrot cake porridge is just starting to smell. Has anyone else put theirs in the oven? Oh, just makes things feel a lot easier, doesn't it? Okay, now we've got our honey. So after 3 tablespoons of honey, yay, see what happens there? Because I did the olive oil first. Now it's all out. I might just, yeah, so whenever you see recipes like that, always do your oil or your fat or your butter, whatever it is first, and then it'll all come out. Yum. Okay. All right, and what have we got after that? Oh yeah, then we get our gorgeous mustard. So I like to use grainy mustard. We're after 3 tablespoons of that too, guys. But if you like things, oh, that'll be the end of it. If you like things a little bit, just put a little bit of this in so I can get it all out. If you like things a little bit spicier, use the Dijon stuff. But I really like the seeded because it's just got that little bit more texture to it. It's, yeah, eat with your eyes. It's yum. And then the last bit is the thyme. Now, I also just want to caveat, in the recipe it called for mushrooms. I was already at my 5 cups, but I'm just going to be sneaky because I just want to get some of those in, and I wanted to show you guys. Like what we were talking about of cutting things different sizes, I'm going to put those ones in just in half because they're not going to take long to cook. A little bit of salt and pepper. I'll use, calls for a pinch. Pinch to me is like half a teaspoon. I know it's not perfectly, but you don't need to put lots in because you do have that flavouring in your mustard. Okay, let's look at this. Does anyone else get immensely happy when they see that? It smells so good. Yum. And now all we're gonna do is we're gonna get that over the top. Look at this. Yes. Absolutely winning at life. Okay, grab a spatula. Whenever I'm using my cast iron, I always use a silicone one because I don't want to scratch it. Okay, now I'm giving it a really good toss, and I would really recommend that you do that too. This is gonna sit in the fridge all day, so it's gonna marinate and get delicious. What the olive oil is going to do, especially for your potatoes and your other veg, is it's going to coat it and act as a preserver. So it's gonna help it from discoloring, but you're gonna start getting all these gorgeous flavors on it. And if you make this and you're like, oh, Stace, it didn't go super crispy, like, what have I done there? The first things I'd tell you, sweets, is make sure, see here, like I'm taking a minute. This is a great job for the kids to feel empowered, like get them in on that. And then the other is, don't be afraid towards the end to put it under your grill function in your oven as well. When this is nearly ready to go, you can add your greens in. I did call for green beans in the recipe. I'm gonna actually put those in towards the end. That'll be a nice texture, but you can put them in now. And also my lots and lots of baby spinach. Change your spinach out for a bunch of spinach if it's cheaper, or some kale, whatever works there. It does smell amazing, doesn't it? It's so good. This one is just such a good example of how easy one pan meals can be. And if you are sold on it now and you're like, you know what, Stace, I want to be cooking like this easy every single night, you're going to love that I can do all of the hard work for you. I can get you organized. I've got the recipes that are going to work. I've got a meal plan. And best of all, I've got a shopping list, because I understand that cooking for families can be really expensive. I've got 3 kids, I get it. But whenever I am organized with a meal plan and that shopping list and I stick to it, I feel motivated to make the meals for the week, and we spend less at the supermarket. Now, you will want to do that in my course. I've got a 4-week one where I keep you on track for those 4 weeks, because there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of others that are going to be making these same recipes with you. So you'll see what they've made and you'll be like, oh, game on. Absolutely, like I can make this. Wow, they've just told me their kids don't usually eat sweet potato, but they put it in this and they thought it was carrot and they just ate it. These things can be so much more motivating when you're part of a community. So come and join that course. I've got the link on Insta, it's in my profile, and here on Facebook, I'll whack it there as well. Yeah, it's gonna be a hoot. But put this in the fridge. The way I'm gonna put mine in the fridge is just like this. I've got my one of my oven trays over the top. Job done. I'll pull it out this afternoon and whack it in the oven. Yeah, I really hope that you love this one. Please, please post some photos for me. Show me you making it, or show it made up, like maybe it's gone into the fridge, or show us a photo of it cooked tonight. It's so motivating for others just to see normal people making these recipes, right? So post that, and then tomorrow morning I will be back here the same time, 8 o'clock Sydney time. So we are on daylight saving, so it might be a little bit different if you're in Queensland. But yeah, I'll be back and we will be cooking the satay as well as a baked pancake because it's Sunday morning. All right, have a wonderful day, guys. See you.